Good afternoon and welcome back to the channel. This is one of the more exciting mods that I'm going to be working on assembling today and maybe even get on the truck this afternoon. I've been looking for a while now to figure out what bed rack system I wanted for the back of the truck. I wasn't ready to invest in the full-on decked system with the Diamondback or the Lightner. They're a little expensive at the moment for what I'm capable of doing. I was looking at getting the Billy bars, or what I really wanted to do originally was the KB Voodoo bars, but you needed 3 of them to be able to support a rooftop tent. So in the end, after looking at what it would cost me to import the Billy bars or to buy 3 KB Voodoo bars, I realized that maybe I should start looking around at a small rack system. I did not want the tent sitting too high above the cab for now. The other reason I selected this bed rack is because it has brackets to be able to work with a tonneau cover. I have the OEM Toyota tonneau cover, and this is going to fit above that. It was really important to me to be versatile, to be able to work with the current tonneau cover, or if I get a Diamondback in the future. But this way, it was really important to be able to be capable and scalable for whatever I was doing now and in the future. We have the aluminum horizontal crossbars of the rack. We have powder-coated steel bars that will run front to back. These run side to side. The vertical, 4 vertical brackets. The Molle panels. These are the brackets that allow you to work around an OEM tonneau cover. And then, as you can see, lots of hardware. And then I love his logo. Again, the ORO, Overland Racks Ontario. And the best part as well is that I'm supporting local. So rather than paying for a bunch of freight, a bunch of duty, and all that fun stuff that comes with import. Really nice hardware, stainless steel. This is one of the items that's going to slide into the T-track of the aluminum crosspiece. And it's got a spring-loaded ball bearing to keep it in place once it's in. Again, pressing the ball bearing with your finger, sliding it in. That's this end completed. We'll switch it over. So now I have both sides preloaded, and now I can start to work with my vertical brackets. Okay, tools required. You're going to need a number 4 metric Allen key. That's going to work with the bolt and nut, number 4. You need a number 5 Allen key for the larger bolts, the A2 bolts. So that's a number 5 Allen key. And then for all of the nuts, it is a number 11 metrics, whether you want to use a box end wrench or a socket, but it's a number 11. Carriage bolt through the Molle panel. Turn the Molle panel over. Bracket is going to sit powder coat to powder coat. Use the 2 circular holes because the slots on the other side are going to help you get the exact fit you want on the vertical brackets. Washer on each. Nylock nut. Get that started. Get it started on the other side. I've turned the Molle panel over. Just going to do the same thing on the other side. Going to do the next Molle panel, and then I'll work on doing the aluminum brackets to the verticals first. Sorry, the aluminum cross pieces to the verticals. so that there's less weight trying to do it. If you put the Molle panel on the vertical bracket, you'll have more weight when you're trying to play around with it. So I'm just going to jump over to the other Molle panel and put on the two brackets. So as I stated before, now I'm going to put these aside and work on each half of the crossbars with the vertical mounts. These two holes here is where the big bolts are going to go through, and then the aluminum cross piece is going to fit inside here like that. Next up, I'm going to take the bigger bolt and our number 5 Allen key. You can see now how those items slid into the cross piece. They stay in place with that spring-loaded ball bearing. We have to slide this in. Hopefully I'm not going to scratch everything as I do it. And then what you're going to want to do is try and line up the nuts, so to speak, with the holes before you go too far. So it looks like they're about 1 centimeter in, ½ an inch. See if that works. It's pretty close. That's basically what I'm going to do to massage that. Unfortunately, it's still pretty cold here. Still pretty cold here, so sorry for the black gloves, but holding the metal and the aluminum is pretty cold. So we're going to go bolt washer, see if I can feed in and get to those holes. Actually use the Allen key to push the T-nut into the right place. I can't think of the right term. I hope that's what it's called, as a T-nut. So I've now got the two on this side pretty good. So I'm just going to turn the Allen keys. I'm not going to snug that up too tight. Let's get it to there for now. And then do the same thing on the other side. Hopefully this will show up a little bit better for you. Okay, that bolt started quite nicely. Get the next one. Again, I think you can see that, but you can see how the T-nut on the inside is waiting for the bolt. And if it's not there, you got to slide the bolt to get to the right spot. Again, same thing. Use the Allen key to get that a little tighter. And then we're going to turn it around and do the same thing on the other side. Before you close up both sides of the with brackets, you need to make sure that you slide on more T-nuts onto the top, because we still have to mount the steel brackets that join the two cross pieces. This will make more sense later on when you can see it. Or maybe I'll flash up a picture ahead of this, but you want to make sure that you do that first. So here's what I was referring to. You're going to have the cross piece that connects the two brackets. So you're going to want to make sure you have the T-nuts already inserted in the slots. Okay. Whatever you're going to determine to be your inside pieces, these brackets are made, these cross pieces are made to go on the inside of the aluminum. So the connectors here only are going to reach to the first slot. So you want to make sure you put in 4 T-nuts on your inside item, and then just slide them down and save them for later. Again, 4 T-nuts in through the T-slot on whatever is going to be the inside portion, so that this bracket is going to be able to fit on top like so. Again, we're going to slide the T-nuts in about 1/2 inch, 1 centimeter. Hope that's enough. Same thing on the other side. Get our bolts and washers ready. Like the left slot or the left T-nut matches up. So slowly put that in. I'm going to slide the other one with the Allen key. Should be just about perfect now. I can start to see how this is coming together. Okay, again, bolt into the hole and use the Allen key to tighten it up. And I'm not going to go super tight until everything's on the truck. There we have it, one cross piece. Now I'm going to do that on the same for the other side. Slide in the rest of my T-nuts. Push them in about 1/2 inch. It's easier to come down through the top to put this bracket in rather than trying to drive it in from the side. And again, if you need to, you can use the Allen key to sort of set the T-nuts in the right place. I think you can see now how that fits together. And then push it in about 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. I'm just tightening them enough so that nothing comes out. But we'll tighten them up very tight once we get onto the truck and know that the spacing's right. What I was trying to describe earlier is if you think this is the truck bed or the truck direction going this way, these black pieces are going to sit this way. So you want your 4 T-nuts are going to be on the inside. So that means our Molle panel needs to mount on the outside. So if you're looking from this end, which would be the side of your truck, you want to make sure that you've chosen which is going to be inside. So you've got your 4 T-nuts on the inside, your 4 T-nuts on the inside to support your black steel brackets that join together. So then your Molle panels are going to go across here. Sean recommends assembling the rack first and then getting help to put it on the truck. My garage isn't big enough, or at least it's not clean enough, should we say. And so I'm going to try and now put the brackets on the truck bed. So I've got to remove my OEM Toyota Tacoma cover. You probably already know by now, but the OEM cover, it's 12 mil socket to remove the lock screw, the lock bolt. Now I can fold up the tonneau cover. As you're all well aware, the idea is that they will mount inside the Toyota rail system. So I'm just going to go get the brackets and see how that looks. So we have to pop off this first to be able to get at the rail system. And then we're going to pull out our tie downs. So make sure you unscrew it enough and then push the big circle in. That slides out. We'll do the same on the other one. They just rest, same idea, on a T-slot. Brackets that come with the rack system. It's a big steel item with a bolt in it. So we're going to undo the bolt. And slide this into the rail system. It slides in nicely. Once you have it where you want it to go, pull it forward. There's some little notches in there. I don't know where I'm going to want to go with this, so for now I'm just going to put the bolt in a little bit, slide it down, that way I don't lose it, and grab the other one. I don't know for sure how this is going to measure up in terms of where the brackets are going to sit, so I'm going to start off with the rack, the bed rack bracket in first, or T-nut in first. Then I'm going to put the Tacoma tie downs next. I'm going to put those two, and then I'll put the last one in next. So here's what the bracket looks like. You unscrew it all the way, then you can push it, slides open, push it in, slide it down a bunch of the way. That is how the bracket's going to fit. There's about to be some noise. The family got home, but in the short term, put your finger in, pull this rubber mount off, and then unscrew the tie down brackets. And push in and slide it off. Hopefully this shows up. Again, the T-slot, T-nut, big bolt. Slide it in through the bed system here. That's one. Slide that all the way back. And then I'm going to put the next two back in. So again, press in to slide out. See how that compresses? And the second one. And then the next rack bracket. Hey Marcus, how are you? My little guy is home from a hike with my wife. He's excited to see the work. This is what you call cheap labor, although he does eat a lot. So Marcus is screwing in the bolt or turning the bolt in the system. Now, before anything gets lost, make sure you recap the rail caps.
I did it, Daddy.
You're doing great, buddy. That's one. Now we're going to put in the next one. Pretty simple, low hassle. There, it's back in place. Good evening. Welcome back. I'm just about to restart here. The next day I didn't get to finish yesterday. So we've slid in the T-nut and bolt into the Toyota rail system. I'm not exactly sure where to fit this, so we're going to carry on together and figure that out. So we're going to try and piece these items on and then figure out exactly where they're going to fit. I can't figure out how to keep the T-nut from sliding too far back. And I don't think the bolts are long enough to get past each of the tonneau cover bed connections. So I'm going to try putting a string through behind it. Like this. And my idea is that I can pull it forward like so while I connect the bolt. So now you can see the bolt is pressed out into the front. I'm going to try and see if I can get the nut into it now. Sorry, get the bolt into the T-nut. So there we go, that worked. Now I'm going to try it on the next section as well. So as you can see, I put the string through behind the T-nut. It's now resting in one of the little bracket holes here. Place my bracket over top. Press that in. And while I keep that gently like that, that pulls the T-nut forward just far enough for me to be able to catch it. Pull the string out. Just blocking the sun with my hat real quickly. See the T-nut in the groove. I'm going to pull the string and thread the nut. Now that the 4 brackets are on, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to attempt to attach the crossers. Now that I'm going to be placing the crossers on the truck, I want to make sure, 1, that I don't scratch anything, but 2, remember we had the T-slots in the top. We need to make sure they're on the inside so that we can put the cross pieces in later. So you can see the T-slots are right there. I am just going to rest these now. My garage wasn't big enough to manage the spacing, and I don't know where the tonneau cover is going back on. So I don't really want to secure it too tight now until I know where it's going. Making sure the T-nuts are in the inside so that when the crosser goes down, it doesn't have to reach to the far side because it can't. Shadow's probably going to help me here. But what I need to make sure I avoid is where the bracket goes compared to the tonneau posts. So see on the other side, right there and right here. And then you've got the locking bracket there. Measuring the Molle panels, which are going to be the size differentiator here, they're 40 inches and a quarter. So I've got to create that much space between these and then figure out where best to mount them. Based on needing 40 and a quarter, it looks like this bracket is going to have to be all the way forward, which means it has to go on the other side of the posts. I'm going to maneuver with that now. What I've determined, this bracket must go on the other side of the locking post, so I'm just going to maneuver that now. Okay, now the brackets are in a little bit better. On the back side of the bottom bracket, there is a welded bolt or threaded steel. So on the back side here on the bottom bracket, it's threaded. So when you go through this hole, it will thread into the bracket behind it. I don't need to go super tight on this because I will most likely take this off once I have the placing right to remount the tonneau cover. And if you remember how I had done it, these aren't super tight yet either. So nothing's tight because I don't know all of the spacing. Giving a bird's eye view now. Gonna hold up the top bracket until you can see the threaded behind it. And put it in finger tight. Watching it from a side, and again a different angle. Pulling the top bracket up. Lining the holes. Finger tight on the way in. starting to come together now. Starting to be able to see what it's going to look like. Now I'm going to install the Molle panel on the inside of the vertical upright using holes number 1 and number 3. You also want to remember to put the Molle panel on the inside in reference to the T-nuts in the top of the crosser. I've gone ahead and gotten 2 bolts, 2 washers ready to go. Luckily I had some extra foam here to balance this. Put it through the slot, washer and the nut. Put it on finger tight to start. And then the second bolt, washer, nut. I believe this was a number 4 Allen key with an 11 metric. Again, I'm going to use number 1 and number 3. Bolt washer through the hole. Bolt washer through the hole. Okay, I'm trying to do a better job of lining these up, making them a little more equal this time. I don't want to scratch the beautiful powder coating, so trying to be very careful here. You can see here that the left bracket is lower than the right one. Before you join them together, make sure they're level. You can see what the rack is now going to look like. So as you just saw, now I'm going to attach the Molle panel to the next upright. I took a moment to try putting the bolt through from the bracket side into the Molle panel. The nuts don't fit, so it's best to go bolt from the Molle panel side into the vertical upright. You can see here, I'm just realizing that. After learning my mistake, now I've put the bolts through from the Molle panel side and will attach them the same as I did earlier. When I bought this rack, when I made the final selection, it was really cool. I reached out to Sean Nesbitt, as you can see him here, to find out if he could build me a rack. Before we even had to worry about building a rack, he sent me some pictures of the prototype of what he had just finished. I ordered on the spot, and now you can see the rack as we're putting it together. Sean is the owner of Overland Racks Ontario, and a great person to deal with. He came down to help me out in the finishing stages. One of the things you see us doing here is adding Loctite to the bolts now that we're ready to mount the rack onto the truck. It's important to use Loctite in this stage because now we're going to set it in its final resting spot. You don't want to use it too early because remember, everything was finger tight so that we could work out the bugs and the kinks once the rack went on the truck. I'm taking out the bolts, or at least loosening them up, and then Sean is coming behind me and putting the Loctite on them. Put it back in place using the Allen wrench. As you can see Sean putting it back into place here. Also important to note, see how the two circles are closest to each other? This is the way they're supposed to go together. We are now measuring 7 inches from the outside of the bracket to the inside of the steel crosser. Moving the rack into place being careful to ensure that it rests down on the brackets so as to not to scratch your truck. Doesn't the rack look like it belongs here? Sean is now putting in the large bolts into the vertical bracket and the bed bracket. Putting on a little bit of Loctite first, screwing it into the threaded backer or back plate, and then using the impact wrench to snug everything up. Sean is now repeating the exact same process on the passenger side. He's putting a little bit of Loctite on the large bolt and then using the impact gun to snug them up. And then next up is going to be moving onto the inside of the bed. Again, using the impact wrench to tighten the bolts into the Toyota rail system. Now that the rack is secure to the truck bed, we go back and double check all of the bolts on the racking system, including the ones mounted to the bed rail system. I need my bed rack to work with the OEM Toyota tonneau cover. Right now we're taking off the plastic cover to get at the spacers in the tonneau cover. Once the plastic cover is removed, next take the nuts off of this locking mechanism. Once you do that, you have two spacers, a thick one and a thin one. The idea is that you take them out of one lock and move them to another lock depending on the spacing you need, either creating more space or removing them to have less space to create a snugger fit around the brackets that connect to the Toyota rail system. There really is no perfect way to do this other than trial and error. We moved the spacers around as we moved around the truck bed to make sure that it fit. Once we felt we had the spacing correct, we reapplied the tonneau cover and checked for the right fit. It's really important to have a good tight fit at the front of the truck bed. Because the brackets are so close to the cab, it creates a little bit of extra space that even with playing with the spacers doesn't make it tight enough. I bought some weather stripping from a local hardware store and I'm now applying it to the bed. Make sure you clean off the truck bed before you pull back the double-sided tape, and then apply pressure every few inches as you pull it across the top of the rail. This weather strip starts off compacted but will expand up to 1 inch and create a really good seal so that no water gets in when you're driving on the road or on the highway. Nobody wants some wet gear when they finally make it to camp. Now that the weather stripping is in place, we reattach the tonneau cover to see if we can get the right fit. It's important for those of you that have a Toyota OEM cover to make sure you get the double click so that you know that it's locked in place. Just a little extra pressure is required here to get the second click, which then you know you have a good seal. Now you can see the rack back on the truck, on top of the tonneau cover, weather stripping's in place, everything is bolted down, Loctite included. It looks like it's made to go with the truck. That magnetic gray metallic color on the Tacoma with the black and aluminum looks really smart. I want to give a special shout out to Sean from Overland Racks Ontario for the high quality build and the fact that he was willing to come out and help me finish it off. I couldn't be more impressed with dealing with him and the high quality of the product that he makes. I can't wait in future episodes to be adding my rooftop tent to the top of the rack, as well as future purchases and attaching items to the Molle panels. Sean, thank you very much for such a great product and for your help. Here is a quick sneak peek of my rooftop tent. I'll do a walk around in the future, and hopefully if the lockdowns end, I'll get to show you some adventures as I explore Ontario. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please check back often. Don't forget to hit subscribe and hit like. Thank you very much. Stay safe. Have a great week.